Who had control of Korea before World War E? You chose Japan, and it is correct. The Korean War ended during the presidency of... Clear logic. Your choice Eisenhower is sound and 100% true. How did the Korean Civil War officially end? Excellent. With a ceasefire agreement is a brilliant choice. Dash started the Korean War by invading Dash. Correct. North Korea, South Korea is the right answer. Why did the US go to war with North Korea? Great thinking. To prevent South Korea from becoming communist is the right choice. Who attacked first, starting the Korean War? Great job. North Korea is the accurate answer. The president of the USA during the war was... Perfect. Truman is the correct choice. Before World War E, Korea was ruled by... You're right. Japan is the correct answer. What were the alliances the Korean War? Nicely done. South Korea, America vs. North Korea, China is a solid answer. What line divided Korea after World War E? Exactly. The 38th parallel makes sense and it is right choice. The Korean War was divided into dash sides. Correct response. 2 is the most accurate answer. KPA or the Korean People's Army represented? You got it. Your choice, North Korea, is right. Who was Russia leader during the Korean War? Excellent choice. Joseph Stalin is the right answer. What is the factors for the Korean citizens? Good thinking. Push political is the right answer. When did the Chinese troops enter the war? Smart pick. November 1950 is the correct choice. How many Americans served in the Korean War? Well done. 6.8 million is the right choice. To start the Korean War, Dash invaded Dash. Nice selection. And Korea's Korea is the correct and valid answer. What happened to Korea on August 15, 1945? Well reasoned. It was divided is the correct choice. Who backs North Korea after World War I? Right again. Soviet Union is a valid answer. How was Korea divided after World War I? Solid response. Along the 38th parallel is a valid choice. From 1905 and 1953, the war becomes a dash. On track. Stalemate is the correct answer. Where was the location where they fought at? Nice work. You chose Seoul, South Korea, and it is correct. At the end of what war was Korea divided? Well picked. World War E is the correct answer. World War I is an example of a dash war. Valid point. Hot is true. What was the trigger for the Korean War? Smart move. The threat of attack from North Korea is an accurate answer. What was the nickname of the Korean War? Good job. Your answer Forgotten War works well here. What took place at the Redstone Arsenal? Strong choice. Missile development is the right answer. How many years did the Korean War last? Bravo. 3 years is the answer. What happened on the 25th October 1950? Right choice. China enters the war is the best answer.
How did the Korean War technically end?
Sharp thinking. With a ceasefire is the right choice.
How many people died in the Korean War?
Nice selection. 2 million is the correct and valid answer. What was the result of the Vietnam War? Valid point. Vietnam is one communist country is true.
When did the Korean War start and end? Clear logic. Your choice 1950 to 1953 is sound and 100% true. Did the Korean War have real fighting?
Well reasoned. Yes is the correct choice.
What is the Korean demilitarized zone?
Right again. A buffer zone along the 38th parallel is a valid answer.
What marked the end of the Korean War?
You chose an armistice. And it is correct.
Before World War E, owned Korea.
On track. Japan is the correct answer.
What happened to Korea after the war?
Good job. Your answer. It's split into 2 independent countries works well here.
At what time did the Korean War start?
Great thinking. 4:30 a.m. is the right choice. The 38th parallel is important. Why? Nice work. You chose the Korean Divide and it is correct. Who is the winner of the Korean War? You're right. Nothing is gained is the correct answer.
Who led us troops in the Korean War?
Strong choice. General Douglas MacArthur is the right answer. When did the KUT join the Korean War? Well picked. June 1950 is the correct answer. Why did China enter the Korean War? Correct response. They felt threatened by the closeness is the most accurate answer.
Which one of the following is true?
Perfect. There was a UN-led mission is the correct choice.
How long did the Korean War go for?
Correct. 3 years is the right answer.
When did the Korean War take place?
Smart pick. 1950-1953 is the correct choice.
What year did the Korean War begin? Smart move. 1950 is an accurate answer.
When did the Korean War break out? Excellent choice. 1950 is the right answer. The Korean War began in what year?
Well done. 1950 is the right choice.
How old did the Korean War lasted? Solid response. 3 is a valid choice.
Who was involved in the Korean War?
Sharp thinking. Soviet Union and China is the right choice. The Korean War ended in a dash. Bravo. Stalemate is the answer.
The Korean War took place between.
Good thinking. 1950-1953 is the right answer.
The Korean War was divided by the.
Right choice. 38th parallel is the best answer.
Who was the North Korean leader?
You got it. Your choice Kim Il-sung is right.
Was the Korean War an actual war?
Excellent. Yes is a brilliant choice. Who was the war between at first?
Nicely done. North and South Korea is a solid answer.
51 joined the war on .
Exactly. Participant makes sense, and it is right choice. How long did the Cold War last? Great job. 40 years is the accurate answer.
Who was the Korean War between?
Sharp thinking. North Korea and South Korea is the right choice.
When was the Korean War fought?
1950-1953 is the accurate answer. Who did the Korean War affect? You got it. Your choice, Korean citizens, is right. What war ended in a stalemate?
Smart pick. Korean War is the correct choice.
Why did the Korean War start? Excellent. North Korea attacked South Korea is a brilliant choice.
When did the Korean War end?
Right again. 1953 is a valid answer.
What started the Korean War?
Well reasoned. Communist North Korea invaded US-backed South Korea is the correct choice.
Why is North Korea dangerous?
Perfect. Nukes is the correct choice. Nickname for the Korean War. Well done. Forgotten War is the right choice.
What caused the Korean War?
On track. Communist invade South Korea is the correct answer.
What is the 38th parallel?
Good thinking. The line used to partition Korea is the right answer.
The Korean War began when?
Great thinking. North Korean invaded South Korea is the right choice.
Who support North Korea?
You're right. Soviet Union is the correct answer.
When did the war begin?
Right choice. June 25th, 1950 is the best answer.
Signed on the 27th.
Nice work. You chose Korean Armistice Agreement, and it is correct.
Who won the Korean War?
Well picked. No one is the correct answer.
How did the war end?
Clear logic. Your choice A ceasefire agreement is sound and 100% true. Who started the war?
Bravo. North Korea is the answer.
South Korean capital. Nicely done. Seoul is a solid answer.
Who won the war?
Strong choice. It ended in a draw is the right answer.
How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format.
Nice selection. Contact Narayan Changda is the correct and valid answer.